speaker, Dr. Sue Black. Named by The Guardian as one of the top women changing the face of technology, Sue is passionate about digital inclusion, as well as a successful online campaigner for digital social inclusion. An award-winning computer scientist, radical thinker, and passionate social entrepreneur. Sue is a Senior Research Associate in the Department of Computer Science at University College London, an Associate at DSR-PTN, which is an all-female technology consultancy, and a mentor at Google Campus for Mums. She is a champion for women in computing and a founder of BCS Women and #TechMums, a social enterprise that empowers families. Sue says that she is a social media-holic, mum of 4, and soon-to-be grandmother. Over to you, Sue.
Just put my water down, sorry about that. Hi everybody, thanks very much for coming to the talk this afternoon. I'm really delighted to be here. I didn't know so much about Communities 2.0 until Catherine got in touch with me and asked me to come and speak. And I have to say it's really inspiring what you've been doing here in Wales. And the more I hear about it, the more I love it. And I really want to find out more about what you've been doing. So please do come and talk to me in the break or after my talk, because I'd love to hear about what you've been doing. And I have to say I'm disappointed that your funding is now finishing, because I just think you're probably leading Europe in what you're doing in terms of digital inclusion. I haven't heard about anything on the same scale as what's been happening here. And I really think that there should be more funding coming in for digital inclusion rather than less funding. So if I can do anything to help you, I don't know what, to carry on and get more funding to do what you've been doing so far and even expand it, then please do let me know. Right, that's my rant over. Now I'll start the talk. My talk's called If I Can Do It, So Can You. And this talk kind of came about because I was given an award, the PepsiCo Women's Inspiration Network Award, a few years ago for stuff that I'd done. And PepsiCo asked me to write a blog post, which was inspiring. So I took some time to think about that and couldn't think what to write. And then someone said to me, well, why don't you just write about what you've done, write about your life, that's inspiring. So that's what I did, and hopefully you'll find it inspiring today. So I wonder if you can guess who this is. Someone asked me a while ago, when did you first know that you were a geek? And yes, I am a geek. And I've got a PhD in computer science, I must be a geek, right? And it was probably about this age, so I'm about 8 or 9. I didn't always look like a crazy woman with red hair. I did actually look like a sweet young girl at one point, quite a long time ago now. And so when did I first know that I was a geek? So I think at this age I didn't really know that I was a geek, but then I was trying to think of what I was like at that age, and I remembered that I used to save up my pocket money every week, and about once a month we used to go to the local shopping centre, and I used to spend my money on maths textbooks in W.H. Smith's. So that was kind of when I thought, probably one of the first signs that I was actually a geek, because I was just so desperate to go and get those maths textbooks and take them home. And I can remember poring over and doing all the maths puzzles in the books. So if you kind of fast forward a few years after that, I think here I'm about 24. So what happened was I came from a reasonably normal, average family. But then when I was 12, my mum died, and that kind of really disrupted my family, I guess. And my dad remarried, and things weren't going so well. I left school at 16, and I left home at 16, and worked for 4 years. And then I got married at 20. And here I am 3 years later with 3 children. I had one child at 21, and then thought, well, I'll have another one after about 2 years, and then I'll go back to work. But then I had twins, so it all got a bit more complicated. And so at 23, I had 3 children under 3. And so well, what happened after that was my marriage broke down, and then I became a single parent. So I was a single parent living on a council estate in Brixton in London, and wondering how on earth am I going to support my children, as they grow up. And I think they were, well, it was about a year after this photo, so they were still really small. And what I decided to do was to go back into education. And so I went along to the local college and did a maths course, and then got into university, did a degree in computing, got a 2-1, and then enjoyed that so much that I stayed on and did a PhD in software engineering. So here I am at my graduation. And found that I really, really loved computing and thought technology was the future, which I still do. So after a few months on my PhD course, I had to go to a conference, and my supervisor told me that I need to go and speak to people at conferences, like you've all been doing, right? You have to go out and network, chat to people, get their cards. And I was still, even though I was probably 30 by then, I still was painfully shy and really didn't want to talk to people at conferences, because to me that's one of the scariest things that anyone could ask me to do. But I forced myself to do it, and had quite a traumatic time because it was mainly men at conferences. My PhD was in an area that was mainly male, I guess. And I had a few traumatic times where I went to talk to men and they completely ignored me, or just some horrible stuff happened. But it wasn't always like that, obviously. But you only need, especially if you're really shy and not very confident, you only need a couple of things like that to happen to really knock you back. So I thought, what can I do about that? I then went to a conference which was all women in science, and the atmosphere there was completely different. Even before I got through the door, really, I had women talking to me, and it was just a much more relaxed environment. And so I decided to set up a network for women in computing, which I did, an online network called BCS Women. And here we are at our first committee meeting. BCS Women is still going. It's at BCS Women on Twitter if you want to tweet them. And that led me to go up to Bletchley Park. So does everyone here know what Bletchley Park is and where it is? It's where the codebreakers worked during the Second World War. Actually, who here has been to Bletchley Park? Oh, that's not bad. So I went up there for a meeting for BCS Women and walked around, and then bumped into the guys that were rebuilding the bomb machine. So you can see the bomb machine here with two veterans, Jean and Laura. And I found out that I thought that Bletchley Park was probably about 50 old guys wearing tweed jackets, doing the code breaking and probably smoking a pipe and doing the Times crossword on the side. But I found out when I went there that actually it was more than 10,000 people that worked there, and that nearly 8,000 of them were women. So there was around 8,000 women working at Bletchley Park or in the related outstations throughout the Second World War. And so I was really surprised and wanted to raise the profile of what they'd done. And so we got funding around an oral history project of the women that worked at Bletchley Park. Oh, here's some pictures of Bletchley Park. So here's the Mansion House and Hut 6. And so what happened was at the launch of our oral history project, I found out that Bletchley Park were, well, in the words of the director, teetering on a financial knife edge. They didn't have enough funding. So basically, after finding out about the 8,000 women and also the fact that the work done at Bletchley Park shortened the war by approximately 2 years, and about 11 million people a year were dying. So potentially the work done at Bletchley Park saved about 22 million lives. And when I found that out and that they were having financial difficulties, I started a campaign to save it. So I set up a blog called Saving Bletchley Park, and I contacted the BBC, and cut a long story short, I ended up on the news in 2008 and the Today programme in the morning, talking about Bletchley Park and trying to raise awareness of what was done there and how important it was, and trying to help them to get funding. After that, I started, so when you get something in the news, there's a massive spike of interest. So the day that I was on BBC News, I got about 200 emails, and then the next day maybe about 10, and then the next day nothing. Because, you know, something that's in the news one day is not in the news forever. So I was casting around after that, towards the end of 2008, to try and find another way to raise awareness of Bletchley Park, to try and get more funding for them and try and make a difference. And I started using Twitter around that Christmas and New Year, and I got various people involved via Twitter, and things started to be moving along, getting social media people involved in what we were doing and kind of making a big splash. And then I saw this photograph of Stephen Fry stuck in a lift in Centre Point one evening in February 2009, and he tweeted saying that they'd tried to alert people to the fact they were stuck in the lift. They tried phoning people. They tried pressing the alarm bell, and no one was coming to get them. So we tried tweeting to see if that would work. So I saw that tweet, and I thought, Stephen Fry, he must be interested in Bletchley Park, right? So I sent him several messages saying, please help Bletchley Park. And basically, he did. So the next morning, he tweeted a link to my blog, and my blog was getting about 50 hits a day at the time, which I thought was really good. But then on the day that he tweeted a link, it got 8,000 hits. And in those days, Stephen Fry had about 200,000 followers. I think now he's got, I don't know how many million, because that's 2009. That's, can't count, that's nearly 6 years ago now, crazy. So what happened was I realized that if you can get through to the right people, if you can find the sort of key influential people in different areas and get them on board, then actually you can really amplify your message really quickly and to great effect. So getting on the news was great, using traditional media, but actually we realised that social media had more of an impact than being on the news. And so that day in 2009, I was the most retweeted person in the world, which will never happen again because, of course, we've got so many more people on Twitter now, but that's like one of my claims to fame. And so over time, we used social media in lots of different ways to try and draw attention to Bletchley Park. And of course, it wasn't just me. Thousands of people got involved, and we really helped with all of us together, working together to raise the profile of Bletchley Park, get more people interested in Bletchley Park, and also to find people who were interested in Bletchley Park already and get them on board with the campaign. And so here's a picture of some of the veterans. One of the best things about being involved with Bletchley Park has been the veterans, meeting the veterans that work there. And they're all kind of the characters that you would really hope that they would be, like really smart, really funny, and got some great stories to tell. My favourite story from Bletchley Park veteran was when I had dinner with some of the female veterans, and I asked them what they got up to outside of their work in the huts. And one of them said to another, do you remember that time that we nicked the vicar's bicycle to go to a dance? So I said, yeah, this is the kind of thing that I'm interested in hearing. And so she said, oh, and then there was a time when all the RAF pilots in the area got into trouble. So I said, well, what was that? So she said, well, most of the female veterans were billeted out at Woburn Abbey. So basically they lived at Woburn Abbey. And the local RAF HQ couldn't work out why lots of their planes were flying low over Woburn Abbey. And then they found out that it was because the female veterans were sunbathing topless in the summer, and the planes were all swooping down to try and get a look. That's the kind of stories I love. And so being involved with Bletchley Park, using social media, understanding technology and trying to use it in different ways to make change happen has really changed my life as well. And so here's a photo of me. This is me at Mountain View on a Google bike. And I ended up there because of the whole Bletchley Park campaigning and trying to make a difference and kind of following my passion, I guess. So I went to give a talk called Did Twitter Save Bletchley Park at Google Mountain View after meeting one of their vice presidents at an event in London. There's a much longer story around that, but I haven't got time to tell you. And so in about 2011, the director of Bletchley Park, Simon Greenish, said that Bletchley Park was saved. And so, phew. So that was great news. And do go and visit if you haven't visited already. Oh, and I've now written a book about it called Saving Bletchley Park, all about the mainly social media campaign, which will be out in the spring. I had to get a plug for my book in, right? So This isn't a photo of me. Does everyone know this sketch from Little Britain? So it's Computer Says No. So I'm kind of like moving now into the more digital inclusion kind of area, but I just really wanted to show you kind of my background and stuff that I've done previously. So now I'll be talking more about digital inclusion. So this is a kind of key sketch from Little Britain, where whatever you ask the woman, David Williams in the wig, he or she always says, computer says no. And I think throughout my career, one of the things that's really kind of like annoyed me is that lots of people think computing is boring or just too difficult. And I think that's one of the challenges that we've all got around the area of digital inclusion. And I've wanted for, well, kind of through all that time to try and work out a way to change people's minds about that, to try and flick the switch in their heads, which helps them to see that it offers them lots of exciting opportunities. And not only just at the individual level, but I think that if you upskill individuals around technology, they better see the opportunities that are all around them, and then they can take those opportunities. So you can really maximize people's, your own personal potential. But also at the organizational level, if you as an organization have digitally savvy people working for you, then you're much more able as an organization to be successful. And the same at the country level. So it's great to see what you've been doing here in Wales, because I think that as a country, if your workforce is digitally savvy, then as a country, you've got much more opportunity in what's now the global digital marketplace. So I think it's critically important at various levels. So I was trying to work out for some time, how do I want to change people's minds about technology and show them what the opportunities are and how exciting it is. How do I do that, and who do I target? So to start with, I tried to target everybody, which now I'm saying it's obviously not the right thing to do, but I just wanted everyone to understand what the benefits were for them as individuals. After a while, I narrowed that down to working with children, so going into schools and running workshops around like app design and coding workshops. But then I realised that actually the kids will just do it anyway. We don't need to get to the kids. We actually need to get to the parents, because when the mums and dads were coming in to pick up their kids, some of them thought what they were doing was really exciting, but lots of them, it was just another thing and they didn't quite get what they were doing, and they probably felt a bit underconfident about what was happening. So that led me to decide to target parents, and then trying to narrow it down again, we decided to target mums because Tech Mums is a good name, and also because we think that if you can get to the mums, you can get to the whole family, so it's probably the quickest way to get to lots of people. And also because we need more women in technology, then we can create role models of women in tech as well at the same time. So research has shown that the main indicator in the success of a child at school is its mother's education. So that shows you that if mothers understand technology, then along with other skills like literacy and numeracy, the better educated the mother, then the more likely the child is to succeed at school. So I set up Tech Mums. Tech Mums is all about improving confidence and improving tech skills at the same time, and having a bit of fun. So basically what we do is we go into schools and we have 20 mums in a class with 2 trainers, and we teach them basic IT skills. We do app design workshop with them, web design, social media, online security, and we do coding in Python as well. And then we have a graduation ceremony where they get a certificate from eSkills at the end of the program. And I think that upskilling the mums doesn't just reach the mums, as I've just been saying, it reaches the whole family. And so we've had examples of mums coming on the course where they've said things like, when I was talking to my son about this, I said we've been doing stuff with Raspberry Pis, and he said, "Wow, Mum, that's so cool." And this mum said, and so that's the first time ever my son had said or thought that I was cool. So we're not just reaching the mums, we're reaching the kids too, and we're also making mums look cool, which I think is a good thing to do, being a mum. And so So far we've been working in Tower Hamlets, and we recently started rolling out in Dublin as well. And of course we'd love to do something in Wales. If anyone's interested, do come and talk to me. And so we work through the schools in Tower Hamlets. So the school finds the mums. We go in for 2 hours a week for 6 weeks. And the idea is not that we teach the mums everything, but we help them to kind of cross over that, to flick that switch that I was talking about, to change their perceptions from technology might be boring or too difficult, to help them to see that it isn't. And the reason that we do quite a lot of things with them, you know, with the app design and web design, obviously they don't all come out at the end as web designers or app designers, but what I want to do is really show them the opportunities that are out there. And what happens is certain mums will just pick up on certain things. And so, you know, some mums will go through the program and then get to the coding at the end and get very excited and then start using Code Academy, for example. Other mums just really want to get on Facebook and don't quite understand how to do their security settings. So all the mums come along for different reasons. And our aim is to not get everyone to the same level, but to help move everyone along from where they are and get them to realise the potential of technology and their own potential. And so here's a picture with Raspberry Pi, because I love Raspberry Pis. And so what we found through the programme is that it not only improves mums' tech skills, but it also massively improves their self-esteem. So we've got a researcher from Brunel University, Leila Kaluri, who's been working with us to look at the mums' attitudes towards themselves and towards technology throughout the whole programme. And when she first came back to me with these results, I was disappointed because I wanted the biggest change to be them being excited about technology. And because the biggest change is basically in their own self-esteem, I was disappointed, but only for 1 second, until I realised that actually if you can get people to feel better about themselves, then they can do anything. And so actually the tech skills were then became in my mind kind of secondary to actually going out into disadvantaged schools and taking mums who, for example, run a market stall in the East End and helping them to get some tech skills and improve their self-confidence. And so it's just been wonderful for us to see the change in the mums. And actually we had a videographer come in the first week of running Tech Mums in our pilot school. And so she came in and interviewed the mums right at the beginning and then at the end when we had our graduation. And she said she couldn't believe it was the same people. So the change in their self-esteem and attitudes to themselves as well as technology changed dramatically, and we found that throughout the programme, really. And so here are some of our mums. So Amina on my right, who says, "I don't feel afraid of computers anymore." When she came into our focus group, she said she was scared of the keyboard, and she said, "I know what all these letter keys are. What are those F keys at the top? I'm scared if I touch one of those, something terrible is going to happen." And I think, you know, that's quite common for someone who hasn't really used a keyboard. But we kind of forget when we use computers every day that some people think like that. And so what happened with Amina was that she runs a school clothing shop in the market in the East End. And she told us at the end of the course that what she'd really wanted to do when she came on the course was to learn to add attachments to emails. And so that's, you know, to people who use email every day, that's not a big deal, but to someone who's not used to it at all, for her it was a big deal. So I said, "Well, why did you want to learn that?" And so she said, "Well, because I run a school uniform business, and every day I have to send samples to my customers. And so what I do is I wrap the samples up, package them up, and then my son comes round after school and takes them on the bus across London to deliver them to the customers. So being able to add attachments to emails means I can take a photo of the garments with my phone and attach that to an email and send it to them by email. So my son doesn't need to do that anymore. So after school, he's free to do whatever he wants, his homework maybe, or whatever he wants. And so that really shocked and surprised me, because I hadn't really thought about simple things like that making such a massive difference. But I think, with all of us going out there and giving people these digital skills, you don't always know what the effect's going to be. You just know it's going to be a good one. And I think there are just so many benefits, and lots of them won't be documented because we're not following everyone around and finding out what they're doing all the time. But there are just massive benefits that we'll probably never know about from doing this kind of thing, and not just the ones that are obvious. So we've also got Thelma there on my left at the top, who, after doing the social media part of the Tech Mums programme, got a job involving social media at work, and so basically got a promotion from doing that. So there's just lots of benefits in lots of different ways. And this is Nick Saw, the head teacher at the school where we started. And he's been very supportive, and he was the one that said that he not only noticed a difference in the mums from running the programme, but also in their children, which was great for us to hear too. And so I'm going to show you our video now, hopefully.
Hi, I'm Sue from Savify. I'm a computer scientist, a social entrepreneur, a campaigner, and also a mum with 4 kids. I'm here at Silicon Roundabout in the east of London, which is the heart of the digital community in the UK. The industry is currently worth about £121 billion. But there's a problem. If you think of someone who works in tech, you probably think of a man. You probably won't think of a woman, and I think almost certainly you won't think of someone who's a mum. I think that lots of mums lack confidence around technology. They may be scared to use the computer, scared even of the keyboard. And that means that they can't take up the opportunities that there are in technology, and I think that's a big problem. So at Savify, we've created Tech Mums. Tech Mums is all about helping women gain confidence and understand the opportunities that there are out there in the digital world. So in just 10 hours, we take mums through things like app design, social media, web design, programming on Raspberry Pis, and a bit of online security. Our aim is to help them understand what opportunities are out there and give them the confidence to be able to take those opportunities. I think workshops like this are really important because it's good to get people who kind of feel the same way about stuff together. I think so they were all scared of technology to start with, and so you don't have that feeling of going into a class where everyone knows more than you. Everyone knew that they didn't really know very much at all, and they were all a bit apprehensive.
My daughter is quite with it when it comes to computers, but I think, definitely have more confidence now in helping her with her homework.
I've learned basic skills, which I'm really pleased about. I don't feel afraid of computers anymore. I don't feel I'm an expert now, but I do feel I just want to jump into it.
One of the most important things I've learned to date is that even if I'm scared, push away the fear, just go for it. And I've got to say, so far, I'm really, really enjoying it.
The course, since we began, has gone really well. The conversations I've had with those mums and with the children of those mums has been brilliant in how they now feel really confident that they've had a chance to design an app, that they've had a chance to look at online safety and be reassured that sometimes they're doing the right thing, perhaps sometimes they're not doing the right thing. Really, really pleased with the course and proud of it, proud of the mums, proud of their commitment. I would absolutely offer Tech Mums course again.
What I would really like to do is give this opportunity to everybody that wanted it across the country or even across the world. But I think, I think we're getting there, and not just for the mums, but for the kids and their families and the whole kind of community. We're changing lives, so we want to change as many lives as possible.
Right, so Tech Mums has been running across Tower Hamlets in several schools and to good effect, and some things that have happened along the way. So one time I had flu basically and couldn't get out of bed, and so I tweeted, "Can anyone take my social media class in a school in Tower Hamlets this morning?" And luckily one of my followers, my friend Vic, said, "Well, I wouldn't mind doing that." So, and she's a social media expert, so she went along and took the class, and so here's a photo of her showing everyone what a selfie is with her class, which was really cool, which got retweeted a lot. and really straight away showed, I think, all the mums in the class how you can reach lots of people very quickly using social media. And it looks like they're having fun to me too. Here's some of our mums at another school in Tower Hamlets. And so someone asked me earlier about the range of ability of mums and how do we teach a wide range of abilities. And that is the most difficult thing, which possibly you found the same thing, is that if you've got people in a class with very different abilities, it's quite hard to keep the highest ability ones engaged and the lower ability mums engaged too at the same time. So we have 2 tutors in a class of 20, and the range of ability goes from maybe a mum that doesn't speak English very well, who will maybe sit with her friend that has a better grasp of the English language, and maybe that mum throughout the course will come out having got onto Facebook, connected with some relatives, and designed a website, perhaps, and maybe understanding a little bit about online security, whereas at the high end we get some mums that kind of fly through everything and go on to Code Academy after doing the programming part of the course. And so our aim is not to get everyone up to a certain level, but to try and move everyone along from where they are and just get them excited about technology and want to do more. So we recently trained a group of 10 trainers in London to go out across Tower Hamlets and work in the schools. And so we had a 2-day training day where it's quite interesting actually. So we put an advert out asking for trainers, and the people that came back and kind of got through the interview process were nearly all women who'd been either in teaching or training or technology previously, but then had kids and were now looking to get back into work. And so that was a very typical kind of profile of the people that we had coming along. And we didn't specifically ask for mums, but that is kind of what we got mainly. We won the Nominate Award for the Best Online Skills and Training Organisation last year, so that was very nice. It's always nice to win awards. And we recently went over to Dublin and started working with a college called Oncason in Dublin, which was set up 27 years ago by 2 female academics in a disadvantaged area in Dublin who wanted to help the local women with numeracy and literacy, and has now grown in 27 years to a bespoke, mainly women college, which now provides all sorts of courses up to degree level, and is now teaching tech mums as well to their students. And so I suppose, looking back over what's happened to me in the last 30 years or so, and thinking about, why did all that happen? Well, it obviously happened because I wanted to get somewhere, I wanted to do things. But I think that education and technology were absolutely fundamental and key to me, not just creating a better life for myself. I mean, I didn't really mention too much about it, but we lived in poverty for several years, mainly while I was a student, actually, because basically I didn't have enough money to live on, so I ended up borrowing lots of money. And, there were times when we really didn't have enough to eat. And so I've never kind of forgotten that. And I realised that education and technology are really what helped not just get me out of that situation, but also I see now that it's had an effect on my children, who have got, good jobs and are happy and have got good lives. Whereas I know that the council estate that we used to live on, lots of the kids from there really haven't got that. And I'm not saying it's all because of me, but I think that just getting out there and tapping into the potential of people, helping people in whatever their situation, get access to education, and especially education around technology, is critical in not just changing those single people's lives, but the lives of the people all around them as well. It's not just that one person. There's kind of a ripple effect through everyone around them if you help one person to make that kind of difference in their lives. Oh, and I met the Queen last year. So I've gone from not having enough to eat to now meeting the Queen, which was wonderful at a technology reception last year. And so, or here's my kids and their partners, and I'll become a grandmother next month, so that's all very exciting. And so my message really is that the stuff that we're doing around digital inclusion is just so important. And I think a lot of the time people just see it as trying to get someone online. And I know, you know, with governments especially, a lot of the focus is on saving money, and that's fine because governments are supposed to save money. But getting people online and helping them with technology skills, helping them to see their own potential can create massive difference. And I think it's a really exciting area to be in. And I think that we're all going to make a big difference in the world from doing that. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sue. I think we'd all agree that was a really inspiring speech, so thank you very much for sharing your story with us. There is an opportunity for us to ask just a couple of questions. There should be mics going around the room, so if anybody would like to take this opportunity to ask Sue a question.
Hi Sue, thanks for that. Really inspirational, I think particularly pertinent coming up to International Women's Day, so yeah. One for the women, thank you for that. Could you just tell us a little bit about how long you spend? You say you run courses for the mums in the schools, so how long do those mums spend with you and your team?
Well, so it's basically 2-hour sessions over 6 weeks, so it's 2 hours once a week for 6 weeks, and we give them stuff to take home and do outside the class as well if they want it. So they get all the program to go through in the class, and we work with them on that. And then they've got stuff to take home so that everyone can move along just as far as they get to. And then if they want to carry on outside the classroom, they've got that too. But yeah, it's just 2 hours a week with the idea of getting them excited about it more than making them, getting them to do lots of things, I suppose.
Can I ask a cheeky supplementary then? Or just a cheeky, and your dropout rate, or do most women stick it right through to the end?
Well, I suppose the most of them stick it through to the end, but there's not usually 20 in the class. It's usually, there has been some schools where it has been 20 practically every week, but quite often it's about 15 because someone's got to take someone to the doctors or that kind of thing, more than dropouts really, because most mums want to come back and get their certificate at the end. And what we do is if they don't come to a class, then they don't get that on the certificate, so they just get the ones that they came for.
I'm Sue Leslie from WEA Cymru. Just wanted to say I can certainly see how this would be beneficial for working with the learners within communities within Wales. One of the things I wanted to know, do you actually use volunteers for the delivery of these classes, or is it all based on tutors? And is it project funded? How does it work?
So what's happened so far is that the schools have paid us. So basically with our first school, I said, how much can you pay us, like realistically? And they said about this amount. So I said, okay, that's how much we want, really. And so schools have funded us to go in. We pay I really didn't want to get lots of mums in doing volunteer work. I wanted to give mums jobs as well, and because the trainers ended up being mainly mums. So we do pay the mums an hourly rate to come in and do the course.
And what has the feedback been from the schools on the improvements it's made to the children as a result of the parents going on the courses?
I haven't got any figures. I mean, it's mainly just, I guess, anecdotal but Nick, our teacher, saying that, the head teacher in our first school, saying that he can see the difference in the kids. But I haven't had anyone saying they don't think it worked, or, I haven't really had any negative feedback at all about it.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, Matthew Lloyd, Communities 2.0. One of the things I was going to ask was, how do you actually engage with the parents who does that work? Because we find that sometimes quite difficult to sell technology, especially sometimes in our more deprived schools.
The school does it. So the school goes out and says who was, sends a letter home, and then that's the mums that come in basically. So far we haven't had to try and get mums on the course. I mean, we did, at one point we thought about having a model where we would get mums with money to kind of pay a higher rate that would subsidise the disadvantaged mums in school. But when we went to talk to mums with money, whoever that is, when we went to talk to mums who had more money, they really didn't they just didn't see the point. So that's a nut we haven't cracked, I suppose. But going through the schools makes it easy for us, really.
How do you market it? What are you marketing the sessions as?
We just mainly go and talk to head teachers. A lot of it's been word of mouth. So one school's told another school, and then we've done it there. But also, because I suppose it's mainly me actually going out and talking like this. So the opportunity in Dublin came about because I gave a keynote at the Future Jobs Forum there, and the principal of Onkeson College was there, and she came up to me afterwards and said, "Can we run this in our college?" So it's at the moment it's that kind of thing really, or in Twitter and stuff. But yeah, that's mainly it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Last one.
Hi, I'm Tracy Cook from RCT Homes. Can you tell me what type of qualifications these women receive at the end? And with regards to employment rates, are you monitoring that for the future?
So the mums I went to eSkills before we started running the course and said, would you be up for accrediting this? And in a nutshell, they said yes. So it's accredited by eSkills as a course. I did think about maybe trying to get funding by having like a properly recognised qualification, not that that's not properly recognised, but like a more traditional qualification. So I talked to City and Guilds about, trying to get a Tech Mum City and Guilds, and actually I'm going to go back to them. But so the issue with that was that they would need almost everyone to pass, and because I don't want to put that pressure on the mums that they've got to pass the course, so it wasn't quite right for where we are at the moment. But I think later on we'll probably go back to them and see if we can perhaps do a follow-on course which is like a City and Guilds, because then that would bring sort of central funding into what we're doing. So that might be an avenue that we can go down. I forgot your second bit of your question. What was it?
I was just saying with regards to capturing and monitoring any employment that is gained from all the great work that you're doing.
Yeah. Also, at the moment, because we're reasonably small, we haven't really got the funding to make all of that happen. What I'm looking at now is to try and roll it out. So we've kind of done it a bit piecemeal in different schools that told each other about what we were doing. What I want to do now is roll it out like in a big scale across one area. So my aim for this year is to roll it out across Tower Hamlets. So go to all the secondary schools at roughly the same time, and then to have a big graduation ceremony after all of that, so we can get 400 mums bringing their kids and their families along. We can get some, like keynote speakers and make it into like a proper university graduation. So that's kind of where we are at the moment with what we're trying to do. And so I'm hoping that we're going to get funding. Everyone's hoping for funding, aren't they? I'm hoping we're going to get funding to be able to do that in several different areas. And I think once we do that, then we'll be able to generate a bigger impact. And then, we're kind of like bootstrapping our way up, really. But kind of the light at the end of the tunnel for me is that I gave a talk at the United Nations in Geneva last year, which was surreal, but which was great. I mean, there were lovely people, and I got approached by ambassadors from several African countries asking us to go and run Tech Mums in their country. And also at the end of the conference, which was a Girls in ICT conference, the chair of the conference said that the UN wants to support us in what we're doing to roll it out globally. So I kind of feel at the moment I'm trying to move from doing stuff on a small scale to working out how we can scale it up and how we can take it global. So I know the opportunities out there. I'm just trying to connect this bit to this bit. I'm doing the middle bit.
Okay, I'm sure there's lots more questions, but that does bring our keynote session to an end. But Sue will be here for our session at 4:30 p.m, where she will be joined by other experts, so there will be an opportunity for you all to ask further questions later on. Could I ask now that you head off to your breakout sessions? You can find details of these on your delegate tags. But if you're not sure of where you should be going, then please speak to a member of the event team. And once again, a big thank you to Sue.